Hello, I'm Judith Rudakoff, Course Director for Playwriting and New Play Dramaturgy in the Department of Theatre at York University, Toronto, Canada. It is with great enthusiasm that I welcome you to the Ashley Plays at Home, a presentation of Theatre at York 2020.
We would like to begin by first acknowledging the past, present, and future of the land on which we create. By taking this time to be mindful of the process of colonialism that has occurred and continues to occur in the traditional territory of Toronto, we are also acknowledging the Indigenous communities that continue to thrive in the present despite their current and past mistreatment. With that, we acknowledge our presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. Toronto has been taken care of by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis Nations. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement originally made between the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. We commit ourselves to the struggle against the systems of oppression that have dispossessed the Indigenous people of their land and denied them of their right to self-determination and tradition.
Welcome to the Ashley Plays at Home. The year of 2020 has brought with it many obstacles, and the 4290 Playwrights have done well to rise to the challenge. Historically, the Ashley Plays are a live performance, site-specific project created by the playwrights and dramaturgs of Theatre 4290, with the involvement of course director and project initiator, Professor Judith Rudakoff.
Each playwright is typically assigned a location by the dramaturgs and a focal point within the Center for Film and Theatre at York, and then asked to write a monodrama taking place in that location, expressing the story of a character named Ashley. The audience moves through the pieces in pods, each in a different order, resulting in a different experience for each of the groups. The process is open to the playwright's interpretation, and because of this, always results in a variety of unique theatrical styles and stories. Each Ashley reflects the voice and style of each playwright.
As a dramaturgical team, we have adapted the Ashley Plays to keep the essential elements of the project. The playwrights were challenged to create a piece specific to the site of a bedroom at the peak of the 2020 quarantine. We have asked them not to tell the story of the pandemic, but to explore how the story they want to tell changes when it exists in the context of a pandemic.
Art exists within the context in which it is created, and these playwrights have had the opportunity to tell their stories in an extraordinary context. And we have had the pleasure of assisting them as dramaturgs as they evolve their monodramas, and watching their pieces develop has been exciting and fulfilling.
Without further delay, please enjoy the Ashley Plays at Home.
We were Ashley, Sweeney, and Mickey Casey, thicker than thieves, stuck together like glue since we first strained our muscles seeing who could carry the most folding chairs down the hall. Ashley'd put him on his back like a camel trekking through the Sahara, whereas I'd stick him under my arms like coat hangers in a closet, and we both run like hell before the inevitable topple. Big, strong boys, lots of muscle for our age. That's what they'd say to us. Mrs. Sweeney, lovely as always. If you could be kind enough to make me co-host, I'd love to share some photos with all of you. The old train yard. Suppose I could talk about the old train yard. Duck out a third a few minutes early, stop off for a pack of darts and sour apple 5-hour energies at the Variety, and slide through the broken patch of chain-link fence behind the old train car covered in graffiti. I dig around for the old Molson stubbies and smash them on the rail spikes. Ashley grabs fistfuls of gravel and lugs them at the piles of scrap metal. Sometimes we'd laugh until our stomachs hurt, and sometimes we'd cry till our eyes sting. We were like brothers, bonded forever after what happened to us. You're right, Mrs. Sweeney. Might not be the most funeral appropriate story. I do want to make sure I'm being funeral appropriate. Put on a tie and everything. How about the old fire tower up on the hill just out of town? Stair's been rotten since the 20s and spiders the size of your fist. We've all got some stories at the fire tower, eh? Ashley and I moving like bishops on a chessboard, trying not to fall through the dripping black floorboards, making our way to see the lights of the whole damn city. We breathe in the cold winter air and just start spitting on the whole city as best we can. Ashley says it's not feasible to spit in everyone's face, so the tower's the next best thing. The importance of a place fades away from that high up. Ashley screams about how pointless this was all going to feel to us someday soon. I scream about how insignificant everything that happened to us here really was. We make a blood pact, an unbreakable agreement to get out and tell everyone everything. Then we sing our songs about atheist cantors and divine greed. She doesn't know what to do. She tries so hard but can't see you. When Ashley burns his songbooks, I cry harder sifting through those ashes than I ever do when he dies. Lured by bells and incense and swallowed up by an emaciated small town, I'm still trying to pick up the pieces and find a new way out. Yes, Mrs. Sweeney, I understand that's not exactly church appropriate, but then again, neither was our salt. What is there to say about Ashley? The free-thinking anarchist with the poet's soul? Well, that's how I would have described him if we had this funeral years ago when he actually died. After he started poisoning himself again to latch on to some faint memories of a time in his life where he felt safe and warm. The Ashley we're remembering today was a drowning man I tried desperately to save who wouldn't let go of his 5-ton rosary. But of course, it would be in poor taste to skip his funeral, especially when it's a click away. Ashley would have wanted me there to show I cared. Ashley would have wanted me pinning my video to his bloated corpse in a glorified shoebox to prove how much I cared. I was the only one who really cared, not his wife, not his baby, not any of you bloodsuckers who tricked Ashley into a life of fake contentment at a fucking church. After everything that happened to us in a church, you have his funeral in one. He spends every Sunday in one. The thing that brought us together was the same thing that tore us apart. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and mute y'all real quick. Frustrating to have your voice taken away, eh? The only way I can think to show Ashley I really cared is to not break the pact. Here's a nice old picture of Sister Carr with us boys back in 2003. Time flies. Hard to believe we were only 7 back then. I assume she left the call somewhere around when Miss Sweeney did. They're probably gonna go meet up right now. I wonder if Ashley tries to leave and find his mother when she keeps us after class for whispering. As she forces us to strip down in the dark and take turns with the hole-punched wood ruler. Ashley has to hit me till it bruises my inner thigh. I have to jab at Ashley till it draws blood. When we both start to sob, she bends us both over and digs her glossy pink-painted nails into the wounds. She smells like Vaseline and rotten apples. The hallway light illuminates a half-erased James 4:7 in pink chalk. Submit yourself, therefore, to God. She prods her claws anywhere she can reach, and I can still feel them. I bet Ashley can too. Mrs. Sweeney says we shouldn't have been whispering. If anyone's planning on heading over to my place, I should let you know I left for Toronto a week ago. Suppose you'll want to hear about the last time Ashley and I were together. Ashley Sweeney and Mickey Casey, thicker than thieves, legs dangling over the side of the pier, drinking a Texas Mickey a Wiser straight from the bottle that Ashley bought for a special occasion. Ashley says he brought me here to tell me something deeply important, something he could never think to tell anyone else. I want you to be Patrick's godfather. Then, without a second thought, he quietly mentioned something about the stars dancing the more of the booze he drinks. And for a moment, in the eyes of the man I used to know, I see a look of wonder I hadn't seen since we were tykes in the pews. The void that used to tell Ashley how trivial this all was started staring back down at him with a comforting warmth. I dropped my head, but I can still see the reflection of him shining in the water. The Ashley from the train yard, the Ashley from the fire tower, my co-escapee, the only one who'd seen me cry, was gone. Godfather. A decade of tearing away feels like it's undone with one sentence. Of course, you'll need to be there for the baptism. I feel the talons slide further inside of me as Ashley smiles like Sister Cara used to smile at us. Dead-eyed and baring teeth like a rabid dog, but genuine. This person Ashley had tricked himself into becoming was genuinely happy. We promised each other we would never get blind happiness like the rest of them, and he went and did it anyway. Before he can finish telling me about COVID restrictions at St. Jude, I find my arm shattering the bottle against Ashley's temple like it were a Molson stubby on a rail spike. Every bottle I'd smashed at the train yard was out of hate. But this one was out of love for the kid with the folding chairs on his back. I leave that night. On the bus, I think about the almost imperceptible splash as Ashley's body hits the crashing waves. And I wonder if your God will save him.
Leave me alone. The lipstick was for an interview and I had to borrow it from my mom. Yeah, it just ended. It was fine. No, I did not know that you could change your Zoom background, but I'll consider it for next time since my surroundings aren't particularly ideal. So yeah, not exactly where I would want it to be right now, but it could definitely be worse. It's a weird feeling being back. I know. Tried so hard to stay out of this place, and I'm right back where we started. My parents were worried about me staying in the city since everything was crazy and things were better here. I swear, this house is frozen in time. All the same pictures on the wall reminding me what an ugly baby and awful teenager I was. Remember when I went through that phase where no outfit was complete with a tacky headband to match? I was cleaning out my closet the other day because what else am I supposed to do with my time now? And I don't know why I thought that was such a great hiding spot. I put all my little secrets in a box and pushed it to the back of the closet, filled with all the things I was too scared to throw in the garbage. A bottle of Smirnoff Ice, condom wrappers, that shot glass that you got me from Florida, and love letters from the boys I didn't want my parents to know about. I even found one of those letters to my future self, which is filled with all the dramatics. Here's a direct quote. I hope somewhere between you and me, we figured it all out. Stop laughing at me. I told you it was dramatic. But other than the awful reminders from the ghost of a cringy teenager's past, it hasn't been that bad. There's something a little comforting about being home. You know what I mean? It's different living on your own, but I will say I definitely sleep better at my own place. It's too quiet here. Something about the city, I guess. It just felt like I actually had something going for me there. And within seconds, I'm losing my job and moving back home with my parents in a town where I stand in line outside a grocery store in front of my ex, who magically seems to have everything figured out. Yeah, he told me. I heard about it already, though. My mom saw their pictures on Facebook, so it wasn't exactly breaking news. I swear, though, he said my name and the air got colder because, of course, he would be here right now. Because here I am, hair unwashed, my lips look like they don't even know chapstick was invented, and my sunglasses that are too translucent anyone could obviously tell it was me. No, why would I want anyone to know it was me? What if I got back to my parents, go through the wrong cashier, and the next thing you know, the whole damn town knows? Obviously, I knew what would happen eventually, but I didn't realize it was going to be so fast. It's like he goes abroad for barely any time at all, and he comes back and brought an entirely different life with him. Reason number 452 why that girl who wrote that letter would be disappointed in me? She thought she was going to marry that boy, and I fucked it all up for her. I really wish she could be here right now, because I feel like you always know what the best thing to do is. There is no right or wrong. I know that, but at the same time, it feels like there is. Either way, I have to figure this out soon because there won't be any use trying to hide it for much longer, and I know he can do the math.
We're driving down Athabasca Lane, and it's only 6:30, but it's already dark out. Darlene Love's Christmas Baby Please Come Home is on the radio station, and we have to turn it up so we can hear it over the car heating. Turning down the heat wasn't an option, or the windshield would fog up, and the last time that happened, she hit a squirrel and I cried. Athabasca is a block away from Dad's, but the detour is practically tradition because the Quigleys have this light show that goes to a Christmas radio station. She loves it so much that she puts tips in the little can they have out front every time we drive past, which is every time we see Dad in December because she refuses to not pass the Quigley house. And as we keep driving, Athabasca is the brightest street in town. It's like every house is competing to be better than the Quigleys. I swear the snow sparkles from all the lights. And everyone is real good at it too. Warm whites and colors that complement each other. Nothing tacky or out of place. It kind of feels like driving past the North Pole. The lights, the drive. It's all the anticipation for Christmas that makes it feel like time slows down and the here and now is the most important thing in the world. I wish time did slow down. If it did, she'd still be here. I know 2020 would be a lot better with her in it. So Merry Christmas! And before you tell me it's not Christmas, I know, okay? But there are fresh sugar cookies in the kitchen, and I already put the tree up. It's comforting, really. Like most people, it started with banana bread. But then I remembered some of the last things I did with Ashley. Her death didn't ruin Christmas. I cherish those memories more than anything else. And then all of this happened. At first, I thought putting lights up outside would have been too extra, but after the entire house was decorated inside, I couldn't hold back. So just be careful when you pull into the driveway. I may have also used part of your parking space for the reindeer. Not real ones, of course. I hope you like what I've done with the place. 'Cause I just got a swab stuck up my nose, and it looks like we're gonna be stuck here for 2 weeks.
In 2013, if you wore Abercrombie & Fitch, you were cool. That embroidered moose was the deciding factor on if you'd fit in or stick out. What I wanted the most from Abercrombie were these beautiful pink gloves. They were lined with soft shearling, and the outside had these little gems glued onto them. They were $85, which is expensive for gloves and even more expensive for a 12-year-old with no job. But I saved up my Christmas money, and after weeks of staring at them online on my brother's laptop, I finally had enough to get them. The week they arrived was the week Ashley moved to Welland. I wore those gloves to school and everyone was drooling over them. Even brand new Ashley complimented them. That night, I was walking home and noticed she was going the same way as me. I thought I'd walk with her, because it must have been hard being new and not knowing anyone. My house came first, but she was really cold and still had 15 minutes to her house. I could see her eyeing my gloves. It was -10 that day. I couldn't let her freeze. So I lent her the gloves. She said she'd give them back at school the next day. I never saw those gloves again. But I didn't mind because I'd made a friend. We hung out every day in high school. She was my best friend. We both picked York because we wanted to go to school together. That's why it didn't make sense when I noticed she was flirting with you. I genuinely thought I must have been going crazy. My best friend wouldn't do that. But then it just became so obvious. And you were my boyfriend, Ryan. You were supposed to back me up. If I yell at Ashley because she's obviously flirting with you, you weren't supposed to take her side. You weren't supposed to come over to talk shit with my roommates when I'm not home. You made everyone hate me. Tricked them into believing I freaked out for no reason and that I'm crazy. So I stopped leaving my room. And then when COVID hit and quarantine started, I literally couldn't go anywhere. Not even downstairs, because you were always here. You basically moved in so you could hang out with Ashley. And I can't fucking leave this place because everything is shut down. I can't even go back to Welland because I'm scared of spreading COVID to my family, and since you are still going places and seeing random people and then coming into my house. You can claim that you just want to be here because you're friends with my friends or that Ashley's your best friend. But I'm not stupid. Best friends don't make the bed squeak in the middle of the night. Ashley's room's right above mine, in case you forgot. So, now that her secret is out, I have a choice. If I tell, I can get everyone back on my side because it would prove I was right the whole time. But as much as I want my friends back, to get my revenge on you both, I just can't. A civil war is something we can't afford in a house where no one can leave. So until things get better, I'm gonna have to treat you like the gloves. I can make a scene because you were mine to begin with, or I let her take you. And maybe I'll get a friend instead.
Can anybody hear me? Good. So, Ashley Wales here, coming to you live on Insta. Sorry I've been neglecting my weekly updates for a while now, but it's not like anyone really cares about the life of a teenage girl anyway, all right? So, I've gotten really good at guessing how many drinks he's had, just by how loudly the doors close. And when I hear a glass bottle break, that's when I know that I should push a chair against the door and get ready for a sleepless night. There's been nothing but sleepless nights lately. Stay at home, everyone told me, for your safety. Crying already? It's earlier than usual tonight. Is tonight my fault? I found this old box of my mom's, and I showed it to him, thinking he might, I don't know, find some comfort in seeing her old things. He and I used to explore the attic all the time when I was little. God, that moment's still running through my head. I see her old dress from the night he first asked her to dance. She was 14 too when she wore it, because it fits me perfectly. And I run downstairs to show him just how much I look like Mom. And then he tells me to sit on his lap. And he strokes my hair and runs his hands down my legs, and and I don't even move. No, it isn't my fault. I'm not going to apologize, not for anything. I just wanted to remember Mom. And I wanted him to remember her too. He's never been that gentle.
He was too late last year, and they were too small. So I think he's really making an effort to get an early start this year. No, Dad. I told you yesterday. I'll probably tell you again tomorrow. Ashley was never a farmer. I wouldn't even go as far as to call him a gardener, really. Gardening requires a touch of grace. It is a gentle art that is more about the act of getting one's hands dirty than the destination. What Ashley does in the dirt with the tiller and spade is not graceful by any definition, and his process is by no means a form of art. There he goes, into the greenhouse with the seeds. The growing season is so short here, and it doesn't get hot enough for any sizable produce to form on account of the air conditioning effect from Lake Superior. Ashley usually spends his summers fishing with the Campo boys, but it's looking like this summer could be different. A more solitary hobby might be necessary. Small engines were his butter and bread. You brought Ashley a problem, and he would fix it. Try and fix it. I mean, if you got lucky, at least he wouldn't make it any worse. He's a methodical man, good at taking his time, the kind of man that's a bit slow on the uptake, but usually gets there in the end. He'll get there in the end. Well, here he comes, out of the greenhouse with a spade. Ground is still hard as rock. The snow's mostly gone over the patch he usually uses, but he won't get the seeds in the ground for at least another month. They're calling for snow tomorrow. It's supposed to turn to sleet in the evening, then Saturday morning everything will be all iced up again. Not good weather for spuds, I can tell you right enough. Maybe inside on the supper table, all mashed up with gravy, but not for the poor little seeds. The seeds that freeze and shrivel like turds. You'll be able to practice slappers with them too, and with that system that's supposed to blow through, we'll have a right proper rink covering the yard to go with the frozen little seeds. He's tapping the ground with it. Just a test, I guess. Ah, here comes a sneeze. No one sneezes like Ashley. He lets go with so much force. You can see his eyeballs bulge out of his head, even though his eyelids are shut tight. It's as if his sinuses are filled with small engine soot, and he's got to backfire it out his nose like an old Evinrude. You hear that? There he goes again. Kawazachu! It's rattling the windows on his little greenhouse. If it was any colder today and the glass was brittle, they'd shatter for sure. He sees me from the window. Kawazachu! And he's back to his seeds. I watched him put up that greenhouse. He only finished it on Monday. When we talk next week, he should have all the seeds in the greenhouse planted in the long cedar boxes he was working on over the winter. He was too late last year, and the spuds were too small by fall time, so he's really making an effort to get an early start this year. Ashley's garden is a labor of determination. He won't exert an effort if it won't reward him. Small engines are like that. If all the parts are there, put in the right places, and given the proper fluids, there will be no trouble. Ashley doesn't want trouble. He just wants potatoes. Here he comes, with the sacks of dirt for the long cedar boxes, one on each shoulder. The coot is still strong. A few more quick trips, and he'll be ready for the seeds. Ashley's mouth is like a chimney. The air is cold. Ashley's hands are red and swollen. His body is old. Ashley is hardened by labor. There has always been weight upon his back. Yet there, he crosses the yard. On his shoulder is the last sack. He's looking at me again. He is laying on the ground. I see the patch of black ice glisten that his right rubber boot has found. Get up, Ashley! His body is still, resting sideways on his hip. There! He is rolling onto his stomach, now pushing himself upright again. He is dusting off his frame, now lifting the torn half-empty sack. He is continuing towards the greenhouse. Must be mashed potatoes and colored leaves on his mind.
Fuck. Oh my God, Ash! I said it before in the Insta comments and I'll say it again now. I absolutely adore your hair. Completely matches your aesthetic. I'm really glad you finally decided to respond to my text. I know it's been a few days since we've had the chance to actually talk, but I miss you, okay? And self-isolation is making it really hard for me not to assume the worst when you stop responding for so many hours. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get worked up. The point is that you're my best friend, and I don't want there to be any tension or secrets between us. And it needs to start with me, because that week I stayed with you and your family at the beginning of quarantine, something pretty crazy happened that I never told you about. Remember that day you had really bad cramps and kept throwing shit at the door whenever I tried to check on you? Well, I was pretty bored without you around, so I decided to have sex with your brother. It only happened once in the backyard, and then I felt really bad afterwards. But then we did it a second time, which was also in the backyard, and it was pretty great. And then we did it 2 more times around the house, which was fantastic, and then once more in his car. James was the perfect gentleman, of course. He kind of reminded me of you. Oh, I'm so sorry, Ashley. This is probably weird as hell for you to hear about. I mean, it's your best friend and older brother doing it all around your house while you were mowing down on those Hershey Kisses that I bought you. I bet it makes you pretty uncomfy. Maybe a little awkward even. I just figured, since you won't have sex with me, your brother would be the next best thing, right?
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, fuck off, Quentin. God forbid I check if Skype still works because no one uses it anymore, you old grandpa. You're worse than Dad, and he unironically thinks what's Gucci from is acceptable. Lucky you aren't here while he's learning how to use YouTube. It's full on 80s hairband ballads. Speaking of the walking embarrassments, they wanted me to ask if you're doing okay. I know that you told them you were doing fine, but considering, everything, they're making sure. Like in case you really weren't fine and you wanted to come home to be with your family, or if you wanted to come home to protect your baby sister from a ghost that's haunting her. I swear to God, I'm not screwing with you. There is a ghost in our house. This isn't like the time when I faked being sick to get out of a test and Mom took me to the hospital because she thought I had appendicitis. It all started 3 weeks ago when I kept losing my glasses. I would put them on my side table, and when I woke up in the morning, they would be gone. I'd find them downstairs on the counter, which still makes absolutely no sense. I'm getting cold spots in my room and my door keeps slamming shut. Since I was, and still am, terrified, I went looking for answers. Apparently, if you look into the history of this house, the couple that lived here right before us had some serious problems. The husband went crazy and murdered his wife, but they never figured out why. No offense to those detectives, but I've totally solved the case. It was clearly a crime of passion because she was cheating on him. Now, how did I figure this out? Because the ghost in our house is the wife. I mean, the heavy roast-scented perfume gives it away. The cheating part, that's more of a guess. Now, once I figured that out, I went on a ghost hunting binge. Did you know that salt circles trap the ghost's energy inside of it? That was totally news to me. Just before I called, I finally found a banishing ritual that'll work to get her out of the house. I mean, I would feel bad for her, but she keeps stealing my shit, so fuck her, right? And I need the help of another person to throw the holy water in the salt ring that I've set up in your room. What I'm saying, Quentin, is that you're the only one I trust with this, and I don't want to freak Mom and Dad out. So, what do you say? Will you come home?
Oh my god!
When you meet my mother, you give her a bouquet of pink tulips. We haven't been dating for a month, and I swear she's already planning the wedding. I learn you've never really understood poetry, and you learn that my bed sheets usually smell like Cheeto dust when I go a bit too long without washing them. I say that should be a poem in itself. And you tell me you wish you knew what that meant. I say, I wish I knew too. And then you're aiming a pillow at my head. I shoot one back, and then we're at war. We run out of things to throw in a matter of seconds. So I do what any reasonable person would do. I sneak up from behind, and I go for your knees. As far as tactics go, this is a success only in that it's a surprise. In every other sense, you squish me like a grape. There's a crack, and I can't move my ankle, and then I'm shaking and I'm crying because if there's any time I'm going to the ER, it's not right now. You say I'm being stupid, but not that you're sorry, and then I'm hyperventilating and starting to shake all over. You ask if I'm okay, and I start crying harder because I've forgotten how to speak, and I haven't even thought to have the anxiety conversation with you yet. My mom comes in the door, and she's the one who tells you about my green and white pills. You don't bother to look at me when you say we'll talk about it later. You're lifting me up off the carpet, and my mom is flooring it to my aunt's house because her husband's a retired nurse. He takes one look at my ankle and he says it's broken. You laugh, my mom joins in, and I'm the one who has to tell the story. Then I'm snuck into the fracture clinic. I'm given a hot pink cast, and after 3 hours, I'm told I can't be on my feet for the next 6 to 8 weeks. You spend the night with me and make sure to say you're supposed to be at work. The days are hard, but the nights are harder, and you tell me to use this time to accomplish something. I think of your mother saying she can tell I'm destined for great things. And then I think of the novels I've outlined but never brought myself to write. And then I'm opening my laptop, staring at a blinking cursor, and wondering why these ideas were put in my head if my hands are too shaky to ever write them down. I call you at 4 a.m. and you say I'm doing great. I say no. How can I be doing great if an empty page is enough to send me into tears? And you don't know what to say. I don't know what to say either. So I hang up. and you don't call back. 2 weeks later, I get my cast off, and I haven't written a single sentence. My mom tells me if I can walk again, I can do laundry again. And I'm smiling because I think I'm free. Walking means movement, and movement means freedom. So you drive me to my physio appointments, and you ask about the next great novel. Then I laugh, and you don't notice when I change the subject or when my sheets start to smell like Cheetos again. You stop sending good morning texts, and I stop expecting them. It's a Tuesday when I forget your favorite color. A Friday when I can't remember your favorite subject in grade school, and then a Monday when I call your dog by the wrong name. I'm in the bathtub on the hottest night of July when I get the phone call. The dreaded one I've braced myself for since the first moment we made eye contact, where you spew some bullshit about self-improvement and how it's necessary we go our separate ways. Pussy talk, as you would say. I'm angry at first. I'm crying in my mom's arms, and my sister's already embroidering family t-shirts that read, "Fuck you, Ashley," across the chest. So I ask to be alone. And I'm laying in bed when I notice that my heart isn't racing anymore. That my hands are steadier than they've ever been, and if anything, it's joy crashing down on me instead of heartbreak. So I do what any reasonable person would do. First, I wash my sheets. And then I write the first chapter. So thanks for that, Ashley.